Hi, my name is Tim. I'm up here in Alaska. Wanted to create a budgeting video here for you today. I watch a lot of YouTube content and watch a lot of like social media type videos. And I've just been hearing about a variety of different concepts like doom spending was the latest one that had just been watching some videos on, where people just kind of view that like the housing market's out of reach and some of the bigger purchases are out of reach, so they just are spending a lot of money on like luxury items just to temporarily, I guess, just make themselves feel better. I'm here today to just tell you there's a better way. So if you have not ever like actually written your numbers down, I couldn't recommend it enough. You'll feel like you have a lot more control over your situation, even if the economy is rough. You know, you'll see conflicting reports on the economy's great, the economy's terrible, the economy's somewhere in between. The key is we got to focus on the things that are controllable, which means we need to focus on personal finances. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you essentially my budget. Now I'm going to round some numbers and stuff like that for, you know, simplicity's sake, but I'm going to show you my budget, and you can take a look at it and see how mine compares to yours and see if it's really realistic. So I had done a previous video on the fact that I had gone through the Dave Ramsey baby steps. So I was able to eliminate a lot of debt with the exception of my house. So when I show you this budget, you'll see that there are some things missing on this list that oftentimes people have. So with that said, let's take a look. So first item on my list is the cell phone. So I pay about $125 a month for 2 lines, and temporarily that number is going to be a little bit higher. I did get a new phone. Part of what they said was if you get a new phone, that they want you to put it on their monthly payment plan for at least 3 months, and then you can pay it off. I got mine from Costco. Comes with a $50 bill credit and a $100 Costco card. I thought it overall was a pretty good deal. And so I got a 15 plus and pay $125 a month. I'll wait those 3 months and I'll go ahead and just pay that down. So $125 is pretty accurate. I got gas on there for the house. So my house is heated with natural gas. My furnace still turns on. It's May. It gets pretty cold at night still. It's in the 40s. And so $100 is probably pretty realistic. This can get a lot higher in the winter. It can be over $200, approaching $220 during the winter time. But I put on there as like $100 because in the middle of summer, as long as we get some decent weather, that amount will go down to like $40 to $60. So I like to put it at $100, and if I save some money there in the summer, I just apply it to the winter when it gets more expensive. Same with the next piece. The electric bill is about $120 a month. In the middle of winter, I've had it as high as like $160 to $200 a month. In the summer, I've had it as low as probably about $40. So I like leaving that number there also, because during the summer when I'll save money, I'll actually have extra money built into that I can actually apply to the winter. I'll just keep that money saved, and then it'll kind of even out during the winter time. I don't do the thing where you can do estimated payments and all that kind of stuff. I just pay it as it comes. But I factor it in at $120. I found that it really tends to even out throughout the year. Mortgage-wise, so I am a homeowner. I did buy my place right around COVID times. So price-wise, got it at a pretty good price. Did a refinance, went through a divorce. Did do a refinance and still got in while rates were relatively low. So that's pretty accurate, about $1,650. So I think if I were to buy my house now, it'd be significantly more expensive because the interest rates are higher, plus appreciation over the last few years. So mortgage about $1,650. That's pretty accurate also. Car insurance is kind of a big one, so I insure 3 vehicles. I drive a Honda SUV. I have a 20-year-old truck on there, and I also have a teenage driver. And so $320 a month, I can't really get it any cheaper than that. So that's quite a bit for car insurance, but I know that Michigan is one of the higher car insurance states, and I'd be curious to see what that would actually cost if I lived in Michigan or maybe even Florida. So just kind of curious as to how that compares to where you live. But about 320. Internet's a little high in Alaska. I pay about 110 a month for internet. Pretty good speed. I don't have cable or a satellite dish. I stream, and so my internet is at 110 per month. Trash equals out to about $30 a month. It could be a little bit higher. It might be 33 now, but about 30 bucks a month for trash collection. And I build in a miscellaneous part into my budget at about $250 a month. I do have a dog, a small one, a little Pomeranian, about 11 pounder. This includes things like dog food. So I ran into an emergency in January where my dog needed to have a surgery for some stones that he had. That was about $4,000. And so since then he has to have a different type of diet. So a bag of his food, I think it's like a 5-pound bag, costs like 60 bucks, but it lasts like 2 months. It's either a 5 or 10 pound bag. I don't remember which. It might be 10, but it lasts a couple months anyway. So about $30 a month for food. I also buy him some canned foods. I can't give him any treats or snacks anymore because of those stones. I have to be very careful about what types of ingredients he has in his food. So those cans of food are like $6 a can. So when he's like really good and stuff, I might break out a can and give it to him over like 3 days. So my miscellaneous category includes that. It includes things like cleaning supplies, toilet paper, just like everyday type of stuff. Listen, I know that a lot of people make fun of the cliche that, hey, you need to cut down buying coffee every day, because and then you could become a millionaire in like 6 months. People kind of go extreme in making fun of that. The little stuff does add up though. But I look at it as if you have a miscellaneous category built into your monthly budget, you can go and buy coffee if you want to, and it could be relatively guilt-free or 100% guilt-free if you have it built into your budget. I personally really love Americanos. That's the drink that I prefer, and we have a lot of like coffee huts all over the place here in South Central Alaska, and they make amazing Americanos. I maybe get one a month, maybe 2 a month, because there's just other things I want to spend my money on. I'm a sports card, not cars. I'm a sports card collector. I enjoy buying sports cards, so I want to spend some of my miscellaneous money on like blaster boxes or mega boxes or singles or whatever the case may be. That's just, something that I choose to do. When people talk about budgeting too though, especially like if you're talking as far as like a married couple, sometimes people say, well, living on a budget's almost just like, being put on an allowance and that sort of thing. I like the Ramsey Solutions explanation to this better, where if you're on a budget, you're giving yourself permission to spend and it's guilt-free. I know that Ramit CT talks about it also. He calls it guilt-free spending. I really like that. And I like having that built into my budget because then I don't have to worry about necessarily what I'm spending it on. Just know that I have a limit. And there's a certain dollar amount that I try not to go over. Is it perfect? No. But do I know my numbers? Absolutely. Again, it's not a perfect process, but you really should know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know what you got going and what you got coming in, and it's hard to plan. And so it's something to consider. Next category, we've got gas, this time for vehicles. So I'm putting gas into 3 vehicles, basically. My Honda SUV, my 20-year-old truck, which I don't drive a lot, and then also I have a car for my daughter. And so I spend roughly about $260 a month on gas. Can be a little bit more expensive, can be a little bit cheaper. It just depends on the price of gas. So that we know that fluctuates. So $260 is pretty accurate. I don't typically go over that, but I also typically don't go too much under that. And this is one of the biggest categories, not only in my budget, but for most people's budgets. I budget $600 a month for food. So it's for me and a dependent. I typically try to go between $80 and $125 a week at the grocery store, somewhere in that range. 80 is probably about the lowest. 125 is about the highest, maybe 130. I just want to try to make sure that I don't go over $600 a month. This also includes going to restaurants. I don't go to high-end restaurants. I'd rather have more money left over at the end of the month to do other things with. I enjoy traveling and some other things, hobby-wise, like collecting sports cards, things like that. Fishing and outdoor stuff. And so I don't like to go over $600 a month because it gives me more margin at the end of the month if I keep it at about 600. So my strategy for food and monitoring that is I use the grocery store apps to track my spending. Now, Ramsey Solutions and others will say to use the envelope system where you have cash in there, and then when you run out of cash at the end of the month, then that's just it. I don't have a ton of time to be going and picking up cash all the time and then trying to keep track of all that stuff. So what I do instead, for me it's more time efficient, is I use those apps. For example, I use the Walmart app. I can know exactly what I'm spending in live time on that app to know that I'm not going over that 125 or 130 per week. And if I have to go over those numbers to, buy toilet paper or buy Clorox wipes or deodorant, whatever the case may be, I can pull that from miscellaneous. You could put that in your food budget also if you want to. If you want to have a food budget that includes all of that stuff, then go for it. All I know is that I've been doing this now for the better part of, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And this has been pretty successful for me as far as keeping it at that number. Could I probably do it cheaper? Maybe. Alaska does have a high grocery cost compared to other states. I know that when I go to Michigan, a lot of groceries in Alaska are far more expensive than they are in Michigan because a lot of our stuff has to be shipped up. And so it's just part of living in Alaska, that additional cost of living expense that you kind of got to deal with. So I do use the apps though to keep track. So my grand total budget-wise is $35.65. Now it's going to be a little bit different here and there from month to month, but I know my numbers. I know I'm going to be somewhere around $3,500 a month. For me personally, I'm not going to get into exact numbers, but for me personally, that leaves over $1,000 per month extra left over at the end of the month. So over $1,000 left after paying all of my expenses, everything that's on this list. So after I pay for all of those things, a little over $1,000 left. Now you'll notice in my budget, there's several things that are not listed that are very common for a lot of people. Student loans, don't have any. I have a bachelor's degree. I've got 2 master's degrees. I have no student loans. I did not have a parent, guardian, relative pay for all of those things. I got scholarships, I worked hard, and I cash flowed. I had a student loan one time for one of the 2 master's degrees for, I think, less than a year, and then just paid it off. So I don't have student loans. Don't have a car payment. So my car is about 7 years old. I did buy it brand new. I paid around $26,000 for it. Paid it off early. Haven't had a car payment in about three and a half years. So car's paid off. So it's nice not having that payment. I was paying $460 something a month. No car payment. Subscriptions. Currently, I don't have any. I did have YouTube TV, but I went like 2 weeks without barely watching it. I might have watched it once or twice. And so I canceled it. That was like $72 a month. I went ahead and canceled it because I wasn't using it. I mainly am just on YouTube. I have Max as part of my cell phone plan. It's included. I don't pay separately for it. And I just go with that for right now. Now that could change. In the fall, I like to get NFL Sunday Ticket. And so I will definitely get that. I like my pro football. And so that might change with the college football season too. I'm a Michigan fan. Go Blue. And so I enjoyed this last year's championship season. So, when football season starts, I may add that back on. But for right now, I have no subscriptions on that list either. And one last one that's pretty common, I don't have any credit card debt. So I do deviate from Dave Ramsey and those guys on credit cards. I do have them. I have a couple of them. And one of them I have airline miles. I mentioned this in a previous video that, Ramsey Solutions, they always say that, nobody ever got rich on airline miles. But like I said before, nobody ever claimed that they did. But people do travel for free. I have never paid a dime of credit card interest. I don't carry a credit card balance. I've had people tell me over the years that, hey, I'd like to keep a credit card balance. I like to pay interest every month because, it's really helping my credit. Yeah, I don't do that. I'm not going to carry a credit card balance to raise my credit. I'm not paying interest to a credit card company to raise my credit. That much I can tell you. So I do use credit cards, but I pay them off before interest accrues. And so I do build up miles. Last time I checked, I had a lot of Alaska Airline miles. It gets frustrating trying to use those sometimes because there's certain times of the year where it's really hard to go to certain places. And so I don't necessarily get to use them very often, but those are things that are not into my budget because I don't have those types of debt. So something to consider. If there's two things that you can get out of this video. One, know your numbers. If you've never done a budget, sit down and sketch it out. You can use my template if you want to and add in extra things if you have additional bills that I don't have. So use it as a template. Know your numbers, write out your numbers, and see where you're at. Two, do everything you can to pay off debts. Get rid of them. I did the debt snowball. I mentioned it in my Dave Ramsey Baby Steps video. I did the debt snowball. Get rid of debts. Pay them things off. I believe in what Ramsey Solutions says all the time, to line them up smallest to largest, regardless of interest rate, and just pay them off. Because when you have a budget where you basically have no debt outside of, let's say, a mortgage or rent, it's a good place to be. I listen to and watch Jack Morgan, RLP's videos sometimes, and one of the quotes that I like from that is, a man with no bills is a rich man. And tend to agree with that. Applies to men and women, of course. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, if you'd like and subscribe, that'd be great. And I'll see you in the next one.